antibiotics, so I'm now on an antibiotic to get rid of the infection caused by the antibiotics. So anyway, I'm going to. I'd like to call a roll verbally so we know who's there, and then I'm going to ask that Ed Lombard chair the meeting because he'll be able to visually observe you as you wish to be recognized by the chair. So when you wish to be recognized, raise your hand and for Ed to recognize you. So I'm going to call a roll and answer yes or no. Well, I guess if you're not there, you won't be answering.
Hey,
Ed Lombard. Dick Cody.
Here.
Jim Steele.
Here.
John Goggin.
Here.
Joseph Kilbride.
Kirkbride. Here.
And Brian Thomas.
Here.
Well, everyone's there. Wonderful, except, and then, of course, Walter's there. Is our mayor there?
Yes. Here. Hey,
Okay.
Mr.
Good morning, everyone.
Mr. Hughes, if I can recommend, officially, you need to request of the committee, if it's okay, if you attend this way. Just for...
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, if you would, I'd like at this point to ask that Ed Lombard act as chair of the meeting, and Ed, if you would request a motion to that effect, and then you can take it from there.
Mr. Lombard.
Hear that, Ed? Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is there another motion you want, Dan?
Yes. Thank you.
Is there another motion you want, Dan?
What was that?
Is there another motion you are looking for?
That's it. That's it, Ed. And if you would now act as chair, please.
Do we need a motion for that?
No, he's vice chair, and then the chairman is not present, so the vice chair would be chairing the meeting.
All right, we'll call the roll. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it is nation under God. Okay, the next item on the agenda, 30 minutes. Anybody have any comments on the November 3rd?
Move we approve minutes as submitted.
Second.
There's a motion to approve and second. Any discussion? I have an item. Here in 3. Second paragraph. Balance sheet. Hey, you're in the minutes right now? You're in the minutes? The minutes. Okay. 1-3. Paragraph. Okay. I'm sorry, I missed your question, sir. Director Pierce noted the combined balance sheet indicated the liabilities of the two loans. Actually, if we want to change that to make it clear, it's actually 3 loans. It's the two water loans and then the stormwater loan. So it's a total of 3 altogether. Do you want to recommend some changing to this wording which clarifies that?
Yes.
Please. Recommend some wording that will clarify that? I would recommend that, of the 3 loans, um,
Can I make a suggestion, Walter? For the word "to," I would insert water.
stormwater,
And stormwater. Water and stormwater. 23. Water and stormwater. So that, that should be approved.
Second.
You've heard the insert.
Aye.
Opposed? Guys have it, of adopting the minutes.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are adopted as amended. Fast forward here, as I understand Walter has, other obligations. Finish his. Discussion regarding new finance. Before we start, Dan, I asked Walter, and I know he did it, he scanned and sent you something, maybe a half hour ago. I hope you got it. If not, you gotta look for it.
I did get it. I did get it, Ed. I have it in front of me.
Good. Put a took the policy, and reworded it some. It's a organized presentation. We're 3 subjects. Identified each. I don't know if anybody needs to read what the policy covered. Organize it. As far as I'm concerned, to achieve that. Says that the total cash needs to go cash flow analysis. Recommend 3.
Yep.
Council. Those funds might be invested. I don't think the audit committee plays a role in deciding on.
Those investments are pretty much spelled out in the statute, isn't, aren't they? They can invest in? Think that's what you referred to?
So I have substance 2 and 3, with subject always to the requirements of
Yeah.
Florida statutes,
Mhm.
particularly statute 218.5, and that statute that governs the menu of investments.
Right.
Yes, it does.
So absent the investment policy, That's the guiding,
That's the guidance anyhow, and
Yeah.
so this is a redundant
Yeah.
phrase in a sense, but directly gets to
Yep.
your question.
Not to confuse last meeting. But we did have a policy before that, and I'd like to hand this out.
Yes. All right, I thought you,
Manager makes.
Out into it.
I cannot hear whoever is speaking.
All right, Ed, I'll go ahead now. This is the policy that we came up with. And then there were some changes.
Right.
The revision that is on our agenda is more or less like a pledge or a memorandum of understanding. This is the information the town will be supplying. Based upon what it says, that's the information that we had requested. Change is that the new proposal will not be a policy. It's just a memorandum of understanding. So there will not be a financial reporting policy in effect.
if I could just, okay,
But the town manager changed that.
okay, if I could just indicate that, the only real change when the manager reviewed this was not to take away really anything that we would provide. That remains the same. The only thing that management's posture is that that advisory committees not set policy, and that we will will not encourage that. That's the posture of management. So basically, everything that we agreed to provide, none of that, as Mr. Steele indicated, none of that changes. The only real change is that we do not recommend any advisory committees to set policy, or recommend policy.
Town does not want a committee to set policies,
Or to recommend a
or to
policy.
recommend to the council
Right.
policies.
This is Dan, if I may
that doesn't
interrupt.
make any sense.
I don't agree with that. I don't know why we can't recommend a policy. We have recommended about 4 other policies that have already been adopted by the town council.
Well, not only that, but all committees recommend policies,
Yes, I don't understand that.
policies, they all recommend, I mean,
Just want to clarify, what are we going to do with this? This goes to the heart of the question, recommending a policy, establishing a policy. When we agree on whatever verbiage there is, my understanding was this then goes to council, the council says, yes, that's what we want you to do. Is that correct? Okay, I just want to make sure on,
The way, again, just for clarification, there's no reason why, this is policy that I sent out to all committee members is what we're recommending providing. We can share this with council, but council doesn't need to approve it. This is not a policy. This is what the finance department and management is willing to provide to the committee going forward. I want to make that clear.
you're saying that this will not go before council.
It can go to council for information purposes, but there's no reason for them to vote on it. You know, there's no policy going forward. This is the information we're willing to provide this committee.
If I could finish. On the document that audit advice, our name.
It is not our name.
I tried to clarify that in my version, I struck the word advisory everywhere it was, and, that's, and audit,
Yep.
and by ordinance.
By ordinance. You can't change the name willy-nilly.
Line from the, it says advisory committee. Fiscal year. Directed in reports investment policy, which stocks, mutual funds, likely only construction is done. That's what.
There was being proposed, that was sent out. Manager.
Basically, from what I understand, Mr. Lombard, you've basically taken the last 4 sentences off of 2B and created section 3.
That's right.
Right.
Your recommendation.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have any issue on that.
CPA reference, it drops the treasury.
I agree.
Motion, is there a second?
I got some questions on it.
Go ahead.
So, and you, this is a broken record for me, but under one, it talks about establishing the controls, but we have never, since that system went up, documented any of these controls anywhere. And so whether we put it in here or we get agreement, it's been, what, almost 2.5 years, going on 3 years. We've been waiting for documentation. It's come up in the audits before that we have none. We have a high turnover rate here with the town in accounting. We did at the time, it was turning over like every other month. So I'd like to see something that there's an agreement that the town finance director will in fact establish these controls and document what's going on. It's more the interface between the new system and the manual processes that interface with it. So that's one. And then on financial reporting number 2, I'm not sure what the format of that's going to be, but we've asked in the past, at least I've asked Robert several times, to include comparable period prior years. That stuff flows around so much because of the way the money comes in. It's often misleading when I've talked to council members that look at it and say, we've got this huge excess here, and in fact we don't. It's a matter of the timing of the cash flow, but they can't compare it to the prior year because they're just getting the current year, and they just look at that and say, wow, look at all the money we have. But in fact, no, if you look at last year, we actually had less money, more money at that comparable period. So I'd like to see those as part of the report as well. Make sense, Walter?
Yeah.
Finally, on the documentation itself, whatever we agree to, I think it must go to the council. We take direction from the council, so for us to come up with a separate agreement with the finance director or the town staff, without it going to the council, without them knowing about it and being aware of it and approving of this, and what we've done is done an end around against the people that are, in turn, provide us direction.
I just want to be clear, I'm for sticking with the original document that I sent out with the only change of section 3 being added. So I want to be clear on that. That's my recommendation. It's my recommendation that the only change to document that I sent out to the committee just basically be insertion of that section 3. Everything else that I sent out, I would recommend keeping the same. Just for clarity purposes. I'm recommending that we stay with the document that I sent out with the only change of your breaking out the last 4 sentences and creating section number 3.
That's this one.
That's what I recommend. That document with the only change being taking the 4 sentences and
Yeah,
creating
and making
section
that-
number 3, like Mr. Lombard said. That's the only change I recommend.
There's no substantive change add to that language, just some clarification, right? And you didn't change anything from the proposed,
Took the same verbiage and basically made it a separate section.
well, and the other sections stay the same. If we accept what you put forward, you know, you got to get rid of the advisory committee. We're the audit committee. That's what it says in the ordinance, and that's what statute calls for, is an audit committee. So I'm in favor of going with Ed's version because I think it's a little clearer. It doesn't change anything that was proposed or being proposed by Walter.
I agree, Dick.
And it's a little clearer to me.
Very cleaner.
So I understand, what's the section here with the question marks in parentheses? Is that in or out?
I wasn't sure about that. I just wanted to be a little more specific. believe it's a financial.
Mhm. You would leave that in, I mean,
I would.
okay.
You're gonna leave
Without
the-
the question marks.
You're gonna leave the question marks in?
Question marks,
Okay, if the
Okay,
question marks come out,
that's what was confusing me.
So in your opinion, there's only one change from what the town has proposed. Well, other than changing the advisory committee to audit committee. And that is that is going to council for approval. Everything else is pretty much the same. What the town is. In other words, we're gonna approve this, and it will not go to council.
Agenda. Question is on the agenda, question is in the policy. I didn't relate to that.
Okay,
In any way, shape, or form.
okay.
Without this, the next might be, we then move to.
Mr. Chairman, I can guarantee you it will get to council. It will get to council. You don't have to recommend it one bit. It'll get to the council.
It's up to them.
That will be my recommendation to the council.
The only other change then is, in your format, once all the construction's done and everything else, we have to follow state statute, investing of funds. Does not give the town the authority to do an investment policy and then invest in stocks, index funds, and so forth and so on. Okay. I
But we can
understand.
always, the audit committee at that time can always revisit.
Yeah, we can,
Okay.
address that one
No.
we need to.
Doesn't mean it's forever.
And so I would ask, as this, without the question marks,
I second it.
This is the one we're voting on,
the one I laid in front of you.
without the question mark, okay. Right. Right.
Any discussion?
clear, Mr. Chairman, just to be clear, so this is gonna be a document. The word policy is not gonna be anywhere, they're not gonna show up anywhere here.
Yeah, we don't have the word policy in this document.
Okay.
I don't see the word policy in here. It's just that when I look at it, to me, it's a policy.
Silently, it's a policy.
Yeah.
Whether, a duck is a duck, whether you call it
Yeah.
anything else, it's
Call
still
it
a duck.
that or not.
Exactly. If you're ready for the vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Did I hear Dan's vote?
Mr. Hughes?
Yes, aye.
Motion is adopted. Now, I'm not clear, do we need to say anything about council now? Or Ray's already committed to, okay. Question, any other subjects? Ray?
I just have a question about going forward with this. You've got this in your computer document, so you need to make the change and send it to Walter, don't you?
We'll do that.
Okay,
We'll do that.
thank you.
Ed, I just had one quick question, being a newbie here. Is there anything in writing that discusses sort of the role or responsibility of the audit committee?
Yeah, there's an ordinance and there's a state statute, and the statute governs what audit committees do.
Okay.
And the ordinance further specifies that, but basically, our role is to select an auditor.
Okay.
annual auditor, plus whatever other duties are assigned to us by council. And in the past, we have had duties assigned to us. For example, investment policy was asked, the council asked for us to develop an investment policy when Jim Rodwell was chairman. And I think we did a few other policies that council communicated to Jim, and Jim communicated to us, saying that the council had asked us to look into these matters. So, you know, it's pretty much up to the council, whatever the council.
Okay, okay, thank you.
The other, Ray?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm just curious as to John Goggins' recommendations, how they were going to be woven into this scenario here.
Well, I think John was just asking for clarification, and I think he got, I mean,
He had some recommendations, didn't he?
as I saw those, we can follow up and make sure that those happen, that we get that information.
Those are pretty much standard accounting things, so it's to make Walter aware of it as much as anything else. On the record, now when Walter's here, it's been on the record several times when Robert was here, so, thanks, Ray.
Good enough.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, any other subjects?
Next meeting?
Don't know anything about the next meeting. That's, Walter, when's the next meeting? Dan, when's the next meeting?
Mr. Hughes,
Yes,
you hear that?
no, I did not.
Dan, the next meeting is scheduled for the second Monday in January. I guess my question is, do we intend to hold such a meeting?
The question is what, Ed?
Are we gonna hold that meeting in January?
Well, I don't know, I don't, unless the staff has something that's significant or important for us at that time, I don't, at this point, I'm not aware of any need for the meeting.
And that's a good point. I'd just like to indicate that with the auditors coming in January, our time is gonna be very precious. And so with respect for that, I would very much appreciate if we could forego any meeting in January. You know, one of the reasons why we are meeting today is to, you know, basically agree to something that meets with the committee's approval and with management, and we go forward.
I guess the answer is, we'll plan on the next meeting being the February meeting, but I think we have to adhere to the schedule, which is the second Monday of every month. And unless it's canceled, that's when it'll be. And today we are canceling the January meeting, so the next meeting will be the second Monday in February.
Another
John?
thing, so if I'm reading this properly, then around January 15th, we'll get first of these reports.
There might be a little bit of a lag since we are dealing with the auditors and closing out the fiscal year. That's a good point. So it may be February until I'm able to send out anything else, since we are concentrating on that.
I'd just like to suggest that we get the reports before the February meeting so that we have those.
Okay,
We can review them beforehand and discuss the format in that in
Okay.
February.
all right.
It looks like to be the 8th. The first Monday's the 1st, so.
I will entertain a meeting, or a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Ed?
Yeah.
This is Dan. You know, on this issue of the policy, I just would like to make a comment that at the request of the town council, we've adopted a budget policy, a debt management policy, a wire transfer policy, a check signing authority policy, and an investment policy, which we worked with at a joint meeting with the town council. So I don't quite understand Mr. Hernstadt's position on avoiding the use of the word policy. If the policy, we're only advisory, and in this case, the policy is a policy that's a working policy between the staff and our committee. Other policies are policies that we're recommending to be policies of the town council. There's a difference. So I just am not in favor of, just saying the word policy is a forbidden word to ever use by us.
I think that may have been a
that
COVID
doesn't make
moment on
sense
his
to me.
part.
For what it's worth.
I absolutely agree with your comments, Dan. We're doing policies all the time, so are other committees, and we just asked the town manager maybe to rethink that opinion. Anyhow, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any other? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
At the time, Dan, only took us 36 minutes.
Good work, gentlemen.
Hey, Jim.
I will talk to you later.
Oh,
And
all right.
and you'll send out the
Thanks for the question, that question and the question marks, Joe.
Hit him when he's
Thanks.
down.
Yeah, Ed, nice job on that, thank you.
copy of